I really think that his biggest mistake on his learning system is actually right here, because here actually is your cornerstone for all of the rest of your system. Okay, if you don't have a clear and efficient, which is condensing all of the knowledge you learned about on a particular subject, it will be hard to modelize it, to teach it, to share it, to apply it, to execute it, to scale it. In this video, we're going to break down the Alex Hormozi learning system, how he's learning, how he's acquiring skills, and if it's efficient or not. Basically, he's very competent in business. We're going to see if he's also very competent in learning. Okay, so I prepared basically three videos and one Twitter thread. So we're going to start with the thread and then go deeper into the system and into some details from the video. Okay, so I still didn't watch the videos, I still didn't consume the content, so we're going to react live and see what we can find interesting, right? Go ahead.
This four-step process is going to make you more money. So here's how it works. Number one is you prioritize. You say there's lots of things we could do, but if we just did this one thing, this would be the most important. The second.
Yeah, so I don't know if here he's actually talking about learning, but the thing is that that's so true for learning, okay? When you are focusing on too much learning subject, you are learning nothing, okay? And this is a problem I had a few years ago, because I was a person which was very enthusiastic and which was loving to learn. Okay, the problem is that when you have this mindset, you have this temptation to try to learn and to be interested by so much of subject, and so you are scattering your attention on too much subject at a time, and so you are not really making progress on every single skill, and so you don't have the result you want. And this is a problem actually, and the question is how to prioritize your learning subject, how to know what to learn now and how to know what to delay and what to not learn, even if you are interested in, I would say, dozens of subjects. Okay, so in my case, what I do and what I do with my clients is to define clear criteria for each learning subject I'm interested in. Okay, so there are 3 criteria, and then if you want to have some deeper knowledge about that, you can watch my video about the 5 principles of how entrepreneurs should learn. But basically, when you define these 3 criteria, then you have a score for each learning subject. Each thing you are interested in, it will have a score, okay? And this score is unique to you, based on your project, based on your objectives, but they are called criteria, okay, and rational criteria. And so, because you have a clear score, a rational vision of all of these learning subjects, now you know the one which has the biggest score, and so you know that this learning subject is the one you have to prioritize right now. Okay, and so you can focus on this one, then reach the goal and the aim you fixed and the objective you fixed for this learning subject, for this skill you want to acquire, and then pass to the second one, etc., etc. Okay, but never try to learn too much subject at a time. Okay, this is a temptation, I know, but this is something which is making you wasting so much time, energy, effort, and money, right? By the way, if you are an entrepreneur who regularly invests thousands in courses, coaching, and masterminds, but feels frustrated that most of what you learn never gets implemented, this is for you. I help ambitious professionals like you turn knowledge into your unfair advantage and unlock the full potential of your learning. You will find the link down below in the description, and if it's a good fit, we'll work together to seriously upgrade your learning.
Second thing that I do is I create urgency. So I say, this is very important. This is when we're going to be meeting about it. We have to get it done by this time. But you.
Okay, so basically the urgency here is something I already include into my criteria. Okay, in these 3 criteria I define for my learning, there is one which is the impact. Okay, and so you know that if I learn this subject, if I acquire this skill, the impact will be huge for my business. Okay, and so these immediately create urgency for you and create importance, and so you are focusing and you have biggest motivation, basically.
You can't do that without also eliminating everything else that they have on their plates. It's not.
Okay, this is interesting. Why? Because what does that mean? Removing everything unnecessary. It means that you cannot learn a subject perfectly. Okay? You cannot be an expert in every single thing you learn. And this is also a temptation. And if you are like me and you have a perfectionist side, you know that when you try to learn something, actually it will never end. You can learn about marketing for years, for 10 years, for 20 years, and you will still find some new things to learn about and to discover. Okay? And this is actually a problem. Why? Because if you are not clearly defining what is the end of your learning for this subject, you will never end. And so you will never pass to the next skill you want to acquire. Okay? So what I do to fix this problem is to define what I call the learning target. When I start learning about something, I define clearly what is my learning target for this subject or for this skill. Okay? So for example, if you start to learn and you want to learn about marketing and you say to yourself, I want to learn about marketing, as I said, you are going to spend years learn about marketing and you don't even know if you are done or not. Okay? But on the other side, if you say to yourself, my learning target for marketing is to be able to create a high converting marketing funnel of three steps, for example, to sell my, let's say, my online course. Okay, something very mainstream. This is a clear learning target. And so now you know exactly when you are done. When you will be able to do this, it means that you learned a lot, you learned enough about marketing. And so you can pass to the other skill, the second one, the second more prioritized skill, right? But if you don't do this, you are going to learn so much thing about marketing and so much unnecessary thing for your case, for your objectives, for your business, and for your growth, okay?
You get more out of reading one book that's great 5 times than out of reading 5 mediocre books. I will read a book 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Then once I have like squeezed the book for everything that it has to the point where I can convey the message to somebody else, like I can teach the concepts of the book, which is something that I've done many times. I'll actually make a presentation on the book so that I can wrap my own frameworks around how I can remember it. That's where a lot of these frameworks come from, is because it's me trying to make sense of the world in a way that I can remember. You get more out of...
Okay, 2 things here. It's interesting. The first thing is that he said that it's better to read one great book 10 times than reading 10 different mediocre books. And this is a question, to be honest, I don't have an opinion, because I'm still shared between the two ones. In one side, if you read one book, great book 10 times, you have a so deep understanding and comprehension and ability to use and to implement this book, which is very valuable. And on the other side, when you read 10 different books about one subject, for example, even if their quality are lower, you have 10 different perspectives. So in one side, it's wider, in another side, it's deeper, okay? And for now, in our current context, I still don't know what is the best option of these two things. I still don't have a clear opinion on this question. The second thing is that he said that to be able to teach the book and to create his own frameworks about the ideas of the books, etc., he had to read it a few times. And this is not necessary. Actually, if you have a clear learning system and an efficient learning system, you are able to teach a book even if you read it one time. Okay, and this is the thing my clients are able to do, because when you have a clear digestion system of knowledge, you are able to reshare the knowledge with your own perspective, your own frameworks, your own vision immediately after consuming and digesting the knowledge. Okay, it needs some strategies, maybe some techniques, but it's doable even if you read the book one time. The videos right now, go ahead.
I spent over $500,000 on my own business education, and in every single course, mastermind, coaching program, workshop, I've become the #1 student they had, and then eventually surpassed the person who taught it. If you're in the game of entrepreneurship, in the game of business, you have to grow in order to get better. And in order to grow, you need to learn. And if you're going to learn, you might as well do it the right way and win.
That's so true. That's so true. And that's clearly what this channel is about. It's about learning and why learning and knowledge can be your unfair advantage over everyone else. It's because when you are able to learn, actually you are able to do every single thing you want to do. Okay. And that's why Alvin Toffler said that the illiterate of the 21st century are not the ones who cannot read and write, but they are the ones who cannot learn. Okay. And that's why learning, in my opinion, and this is my view, and it's also the view of some entrepreneurs like Naval, for example, like Robert Greene, etc., is that the ability to learn is the most valuable ability and the most valuable skill to have in this era. Okay, and also the case for business.
When we want to learn a new skill, we also interview people for the skill, because usually it's a company that has a void. We'll get on the phone with 10 or 20 people with the intention, obviously, of hiring, somebody who's really good. But if you talk to 10 or 20 people that are all like senior director of, customer success, you say, hey, walk me through some of the metrics that you track for this. And then how do you move these metrics? So what activities do you do to change them? My belief is that you can tell someone's skill by the quantity and quality of metrics they track. Easier thing is sales, because most people who are listening get what that is. If I talk to a sales director and I say, first off, how do you make this company more money? Now, if they say something like, well, I'm going to increase sales, it's like, no, but you're not going to be on the phone. So how do you increase sales? And so then it's like you start to put a little bit of pressure. And then because if they can't tie the activities that they do to revenue generation on the interview, then for sure they're not going to do any work for you. Yeah. And some guys are like, I'm going to rile up the team and I'm going to, get them excited. We're going to do some training. That's not going to be a good sales manager, right? If someone says, well, I'm going to look at, the offer percentage that we have, I'm going to look at our scheduling rates, I'm going to look at our show rates. If our show rates are low, I'm going to do this. If offer rates are low, we're going to look at marketing, make sure the messaging's right. If we're struggling with whatever, a specific obstacle, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to isolate that obstacle and then we're going to drill it. I'm going to look at that particular reps closing percentage and make sure that it gets up to KPI. If he starts breaking down all of these pieces, then I'm like, okay, not only is he tracking the metrics, but he knows how to affect them. And so then also when I talk to 4 other guys, and I get onto the 4th call, that first guy might have said something that I didn't know about. But when I go to the 4th call, I'm like, so what do you think about this? Yeah. And then how they respond to it. Right. I get better and better at it. And so then I start to know what to look for. And then if I still have no idea, then that's when I'll pay somebody.
That's interesting. Basically, it's about, so what he's doing, he's asking people about what they would do in a particular situation. Okay. So for example, the person one, he's going to do A, B, C, D, okay? And then he's confronting this person to another one and see the differences. Okay, maybe this one is going to say, here, I will not do this, but I will do this. So he look at the difference. And then, same thing, maybe for the third one, okay? He would say, I will not do this, I will do that. And he's telling us that the more and more he's talking to these people, the more and more he is learning. But I think this is a not very safe approach, because in this approach, it's like you are saying that the last one is the most confident one and the one who has the biggest skill, because he is giving feedback on the previous one, and you are considering that his feedback is good. It will be good if you do this in a cycle way. Okay, so you talk to the first one, then to the second, then to the third, and then you go back to the first to get his opinion on what the last one said, and to see, because maybe he was true for all the steps. Maybe he was true. But you didn't give him the chance to, to prove that the last one was wrong. Okay, and so I feel what he's trying to do right here by learning this kind of stuff. But I don't think that it's the best way to learn, actually.
To consolidate what we were saying earlier, because this matters a lot to me. Most skills can be learned decently with about 20 hours of focused effort. 20 hours. Like the first 20 hours of you actually doing something, you learn the most you're going to learn about the thing. If you just consider by percentage of learning from like you know nothing to 20 hours in, you already have a really good understanding of the thing.
Yeah, and you can find this basically. You have a very TED talk and also the book of I think Josh Kaufman. This TEDx is very interesting. The first 20 hours, and you have also the book, the first 20 hours, which is interesting, but it's not the best. But yeah, that's true about the 20 hours.
The problem is that most people will take years to start the first hour. And so that habit that you're referencing is that my speed, at least now as you know, I've gotten better at this stuff, is that like I try and detract the time from when I want to learn something or when I want to start doing something to starting it as soon as I can, because I just want to start getting through those 20 hours as fast as I can.
Yes.
And so that's just been a very tangible, because it seems like this amorphous thing, but there was a study that was done. There's like in the first 20 hours, you can learn almost any skill. Playing guitar, running an ad, doing like you'll learn more in that first 20 hours than any other time. So it's like, then just get to that 20 hours and don't delay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and basically this is because of the diminishing return principle. So in time, this is your skill or your knowledge, and this is time. And in the first hours, you are going to learn a lot. And then it's going to be like, okay, the more and more you advance in time, the more and more it's hard to learn more about this subject. Okay, so basically the first 20 hours are here. Let's say here. And so as you see, in a very small portion of time, your skill blown up. It's here, 21st hours.
Your website probably wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
But you got the
Thing else out. But like if you remember how all I'm doing is I'm going to start
embarrassing yourself.
Okay, so we're going to search for other things, because actually these videos are, I hate when the title of the video is not directly linked with the content of, which was the case for these videos. You see here how to master any skill, etc. You are not even talking about learning actually. Okay, maybe this one, how to learn skills.
I seek out experts, and I've always done that to learn any skill. Even when I wanted to learn Facebook ads way back in the day, I went to a guy who was an agency owner, and I said, hey, I want to learn how to run ads. And so finally he said $750 an hour. And I was like, cool, all right, once a week, we'll hop on, $750 an hour. And you don't have to do anything else. I was like, but I want to control the computer, and I'll do the clicking, and you tell me why I'm doing it. And it took me, I think, like 8 hours with him to like learn how to run Facebook ads. $6,000, made me millions and millions and millions of dollars. I'm a big fan of one-on-one tutoring.
Yeah, actually, this is about deliberate practice, actually, and one of the biggest principles of deliberate practice is feedback. Okay, you have someone which is looking and telling you what to do. You do it yourself. That's very important. It's not him who does the thing, but it's you. You are doing the thing, and immediately you have a feedback on what you have done wrong, and you have a feedback also on why. And also he's telling you, he's pushing you on how to, maybe you should do it better. But he's telling you, he's just giving you some cues to make you able to fix by yourself your mistake. Okay, and I think this is the approach he's using here. And you have a very good material in the book Ultra Learning. About this thing from Scott Young. Very, very great, interesting book about deliberate practice, which is the fastest way to learn practical skill.
Whether you're trying to get into law, or you're trying to get into accounting, or you're trying to get into video editing, or you're trying to get into sales, or you're trying to get into marketing, whatever the core activity that you do, making videos, making ads, writing sales pages, actually doing sales calls, whatever it is, if you do 2 times or 4 times the volume, you will get better, faster, and pay down your ignorance debt at a faster rate that compounds. Kobe Bryant was famous for doing this, where he would do 2 practices a day. And he thought, if everybody else does 1 practice a day, I will get better faster. And in the beginning, the difference is not that noticeable. But after 5 years, and then 10 years, he becomes unbeatable. He has compounded the number of hours in the trenches learning the thing.
Okay, that's true in theory, but in practice, suppose you are a professional, you can say to yourself, I'm gonna invest, I would say, hundreds of hours to repeat these skills dozens and dozens of times until I master it. Because from today to this time, maybe you will have to learn another skill. Okay, and so what you are going to do, you are going to also start over in this new skill and repeat hundreds and hundreds of times. This is not, in practice, this is not doable when you are in a world when you have to learn so much new skills on the way. A more relevant approach to have is to just define your learning target. What is the level you want to reach for this skill, and just get the fastest way to arrive to this learning target. Okay, so it can be by reading, it can be by following courses, it can be by having a coach and make deliberate practice. Okay, you have a lot of path to do it. Some of faster than others, actually, but then you arrive at this learning target and you pass to the other skill. But if you are trying to repeat and saying to yourself that the best way to learn and to be good at one thing is to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat, I think you are going to waste a lot of time. Because if you want to master a skill, this takes a lot of time. And as you see here, the video is called How to Master Any Skill Faster. Really, mastering a skill is something very tough. So people are making this assumption and this pretension of mastering a skill, but actually you don't know what does that mean to master a skill and to really be an expert in a skill. It's not about just understanding the thing, etc. It's something very tough. It's something that takes a lot of time. And so actually your objective as an entrepreneur for the skills you want to learn about is not to master them and not to be an expert in them. If you are telling this to yourself, I have to master it, etc., you are going to fall into the perfectionism trap. Okay, and so you will never end learning about skills, and so you will never go ahead. Right? Just define the skills you need, the skills that are the more priority ones right now. Focus on one. Define your learning target. Reach your learning target. Pass to the second one, etc., etc.
I had this myth that I used to believe if I read a book, I would somehow have a skill. And I feel like when you read a book, you have a general idea of like the vague outline of what the skill might be, right? You learn so much more from your first 100 sales calls than you will from reading every single book in the library on sales. That belief shifted when I was in that 6-month terrible period of my life where I was like deciding whether to stay or go. I read, I think like 10 or 15 self-help books, and I realized that my life hadn't changed. I wasn't really learning because it didn't actually affect my behavior. And if you look at behavioral conditioning, they say the definition of learning is that when you put the same condition and you have a different behavior. If someone does something in a condition and then they learn something and then you present the same condition, if their behavior changes, they have learned something, which either happens to reinforcement or punishment. That's it. I was consuming all the stuff and in the same condition, which means that I had learned nothing despite consuming a lot of content. Once I realized that behavior and action was the thing that actually got me to learn.
Okay, this is interesting and true in part. Okay, so he's saying that you are going to learn a lot more by making your first 100 calls, sales calls, than you will by reading books about sales. Okay, actually, you don't have to choose, because in the both world you have benefits, and you need these benefits. You have benefits from the world of learning material, books, courses, seminars, etc., and you have advantages from the practice, and you have to combine these two to really learn. Okay, why? Because in I would say, we'll call it the theoretical world. So you have books, you have courses, maybe you have seminars, maybe podcasts, but I hate putting podcasts in the same categories of books. But anyway, so you have the theoretical world here, and you have the practical world. Here is the practical world. So here you have, okay, so practice, tests, experiences, etc. And a lot of people are now saying that, okay, this is a real world where you can actually learn. And that's not true. Why? Because you can learn a lot from the practical world, but you will need one thing which is very important, which is to modelize your knowledge. Here, you don't have modelization. you know basically that you are able right now to have a sales call which is successful, but you are not able to explain someone or to know by yourself why it is successful. And this is a lack in your learning and in your knowledge, right? So when you combine these two, this is where you will have the biggest results, okay? Some people are just trying to learn from theoretical world, and this is a mistake also, okay? Here you have theory, here you have the practice, and you have to combine these two worlds to have the biggest impact and the better learning. But the way he's saying here is like he's saying, okay, basically theoretical world is not useful and you just have to practice, okay? There is no sense in this, because it's like you're saying books are useless, and so your book also is maybe useless, and so you just have to practice, and so you will be able to build skills just by practicing. And that's not true. You can gain a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience because you are taking the knowledge and the experience of people who already practiced a lot. Because what books are, actually great books are, it's a quintessence, it's a concentration of practice, modelized, actually. And so when you read a book, it's like you already practiced, okay? And so you just have to practice again to confront your skill and your understanding to the real world to really unlock this thing, and then you are able to have the skill, okay? But this is a big mistake to say that you can only learn by reading books or you can only learn by practicing, okay? You need both. Okay, so I think it's enough for now, and we are just going to break down his system based on what we have seen for now. So first step he's doing is prioritize learning subjects or skills, okay? His attention is not scattered between a lot of things he wants to learn at the same time, okay? He's focusing on sales, then he's focusing on creating ads and ad campaign, then he's focusing on branding, as he said, etc., etc. So one skill at a time, okay? This is the thing to remember, okay? Second thing, and actually he has two paths here. So either he's reading one book several times, or he's doing a one-to-one tutoring. So several times. So here, prioritizing, reading, tutoring, I don't know, but as you see, himself is combining between the two. Himself, he is combining between theory here and practice here, as we said, okay? So I think this video in which he's just talking about you have to practice and books is not going to give you the skill, etc. I don't know why he said that, because himself he's combining the two, okay? And this is the best of the both worlds, right? And then I don't know what he's doing here. Is he taking notes? I don't know. Maybe if he's taking notes, how is he taking notes? For example, on on Notion and linear notes, which is not efficient, and in forms of bullet points. I don't know. And then I don't know what he's doing. Maybe I think he's just applying and executing and teaching. And how to teach? So he had content for public teaching, and I think that he's also teaching his teams. I don't know how, but it's a must, right? So we don't know about his note-taking system, if he had one, which is a must. And here, if he's applying directly from reading or from tutoring, I think that it has to be very hard for him to create content and to teach, and so to create frameworks. And that's why he's saying that he has to read a book several times to be able to create frameworks, and so to distill them, and so to teach them, okay? But I really think that his biggest mistake on his learning system is actually right here, because here actually is your cornerstone for all of the rest of your system. Okay, if you don't have a clear and efficient note-taking system, which is condensing all of the knowledge you learned about on a particular subject, it will be hard to modelize it, to teach it, to share it, to apply it, to execute it, to scale it. Okay, and that's why it's very, very important. Okay, you have different ways to do it, but if you are able to do this correctly, then all of the rest is very easy, very fast, and so you are going to blow up your ROL, your return on learning. Okay, because right now I think that his return on learning is low compared to what he should be. Okay, because I think that he's learning a lot, but because of this lack, the application and execution and the teaching are not so streamlined as they should. Okay, and so basically I think the current learning system he had, which is actually average, okay, but it was interesting to see it. So I hope this video was interesting for you and valuable, and you find some interesting things to apply to your learning system. I want to link another video after this one, which are the 5 principles you have to follow if you really want to learn the good way as an entrepreneur. Okay, so go ahead and watch this video, and I see you in the other side.